think they're good. It's nice to be able to have a string of wins, but now, it gets down to real football. Having an opportunity to finish with 2 rivalry games, and I have a ton of respect for that whole staff at Weber, and they've really had our number for the better part of the past 2 decades. And we got them last year, but I don't know the last time we beat them twice in a row. But I think that's something that our guys are really excited about, the opportunity to attack. We know we're going to get both barrels from them. They're going to have a good plan. They're going to funk some stuff up. They're playing with house money at this point, and that's a program with a lot of pride and tradition that we respect, and we're excited about the opportunity to play them on Saturday.
Cody, the big news out of this week, Weber made a coaching change. Do you expect that will influence the way they play this game coming in on Saturday?
I think it's totally going to influence the way they change it. Obviously, I have a ton of respect for Coach Mennel and what he was able to do on the offensive side. They've been pretty productive this year on offense, and unfortunately, they just have had a rash of injuries and got a lot of guys nicked up. But I think they're getting some of those guys back, and it'll be a good opportunity for them to send the seniors out the right way. Nobody likes to see coaching changes, especially when they happen mid-season, but when I was a senior, my dad got fired in the middle of the season, so I know what it's like. And we played our butts off the rest of the year because it's kind of it's one thing when you're beaten down, but then when you finally realize, hey, we're dead anyways. Like we're in this corner, we might as well go out swinging. Then the team kind of unifies around that, and you never want to see somebody get let go. It's not fun. It's not a great part of the profession, but it's a reality of it. And whether or not they would have played better or worse is going to depend on the leadership of that team. And I know Brett Myers, I've known him for a long time. I know he's going to love on those guys and have them ready to play. And Weber's always been known for having good athletes, tough dudes, and being really good on teams and having a couple bags of tricks. And you better believe we're going to get all of that on Saturday.
Talking about Weber's strengths, they've had 3 games this year where they've scored 38-plus points. What do they do well on offense, and what do we need to expect out of them coming in?
Yeah, I think obviously what they can do in the RPO game is pretty darn good. They're exotic with their gap schemes and zone schemes and do a good job of having a variety of backside edges, whether they block with one guy and rim with one, or send 2 arc to arc, or one guy out in the flat. They're going to mess with your run fits quite a bit, and then they do a good job with the play action game, whether it's the boot or the play action shot stuff to create some opportunities for them. Obviously, they're going to have a new play caller, so I don't know how they want to attack it. I don't know who's going to have the most amount of influence, but I'm sure the general structure won't change. But we're going to have to do a good job adapting our game plan as the game goes on, and we kind of see what their plan of attack is.
Would you compare it to maybe playing these first couple non-conference games every year where you might not know exactly what's going on?
Yeah, it's kind of like you're playing them, hey, the first game of the year where, all right, we have tape from last year, so we can assume that they're going to use tight ends. You can assume that they're going to spend a good amount of time in the gun. You can assume that they're going to throw RPOs and have a wing run plan, especially with their tight ends coach taking over the play calling duties. I'm sure that'll even be a bigger influence in what they do. But yeah, it's a lot like the first game of the season, both for them, where they kind of have new life, but they also get a refreshing, or they get change, right? Whether it's refreshing or good or bad is up to them. But it is. There's going to be a good amount of unknowns, but you kind of have to go off of what you've seen so far, hoping that the majority of the offense, defense, and teams falls within that footprint.
As you've been scouting, and studying these past couple weeks, what does Weber really excel at on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, they're really good at playing man-to-man coverage. That's where they're going to challenge you. So that's really hard for us, and we've been able to see more man-to-man coverage this year, but Joe Dale does a great job, and you can really see his, ever since he took over the sole play calling duties, that he puts a lot on those defensive backs, and he coaches the heck out of them. I think they're probably a little bit more exotic in the secondary than they have been in the past, and a little bit more aggressive just because he trusts those guys and coaches them really hard. And then up front, man, they got some interior D linemen, some edge guys who can really, really play, which has kind of been a hallmark of Weber in the past. But they're really good in the secondary. They got a couple really good defensive linemen, and they've been through their fair share of injuries. But, we're going to see 2 corners that are as good as anybody we've played with. Even if you look at whether it's the PFF ratings or the stats, they're going to have 2 guys who are better than anybody that we've played so far. And we got to find ways to get our guys in favorable matchups, and got to make sure that we're blocking their rushers, because they'll get after you. They're up there in sacks too, I think. Not right at the top, but they're in the top half of the conference doing a really good job pressuring the QB.
Cody, Saturday is senior day for the Bengals. We have 14 seniors walking this year. Just off the top of your head, how do you feel about these guys? What have they contributed to the program, and what are they leaving?
Yeah, a lot of those guys have been here since I got here, and it'll be interesting to see how this whole JUCO ruling plays out. We're going to walk some guys, and I bet 8 of those guys are going to still have another year of eligibility that we may end up being to get back. And for the people who wonder what the heck I'm talking about, when I first arrived here, there were a bunch of junior college guys who we signed that all still are in the process of petitioning to get that junior college year back, like so many athletes have now. And so they're going to walk, and we're still going through the process of trying to get them that extra year, but we are planning on a lot of those guys being back next year, but we just aren't sure how the legal process will play out. Some of those guys we know are going to be done for sure, and guys who've really been leaders and hallmarks of the program, whether it's a guy like Mike Shulikov, who's been here for a long time, only with the football program for 3 years, but he's a true Bengal, and he's at the end of his rope there. And then a guy like Cam Willis, who showed up for 1 year but has made a lasting impact, whether it's setting records in the weight room or rushing quarterbacks or just kind of getting that defensive culture up front going. I mean, whether they've been here for a long time or a short time, really proud of these guys, because this has been a big transition year from us when we kind of go to from, all right, doing better is still the mission, but the standard is just a lot higher. So guys are being held to a higher standard, and it's been great to see them embrace the opportunity to lead and be resilient and to finish out this year the right way.
Perfect. Cody, this is the second year of the Train Bell Trophy being back. You know, as a head coach, do you pay attention to the rivalry aspect of it, or is it just another game for you?
I think whether there's a trophy or not, you understand that this is really important just for regional stability and prowess and notoriety, just because going up and down I-15, there are so many of our recruits, whether it's in eastern Idaho or Salt Lake City area, that are choosing between purple and orange. I mean, there have been a lot of great players from Idaho who've gone down to Weber in the past couple of years, and we're trying to keep them here. And we've done, I think, a better job of emphasizing the Salt Lake City area in our recruiting the past couple of years in addition to southern Idaho. And it means a lot. I mean, every kid that we recruit knows about Weber and Idaho State. We're recruiting a lot of the same guys, and they have really been the standard in the conference and in this region for quality football play for the past couple of years. And yeah, they had a couple down years, but we had a lot of down years before that. And now we're really kind of fighting, and we're both in the middle ground, seeing who's going to go forward with this, who's going to take the reins and kind of take control of the region. So it means a lot. Having the train bell is fun. I mean, we get to see it every day when we walk in there, and players are always going in there and ringing it. My kids are really concerned about it. My daughter Finley, every game this year, Dad, is this the game for the bell? Are they going to take the bell? I'm like, honey, we're going to do our best to keep the bell, but I cannot guarantee it. But we're going to go out there and play our butts off and try to make sure that stays in pokey.
You know, this is also the final home game of the season, scheduled home game of the season for us. You know, as a coach, walk me through, you know, what it's like when you hit these milestones of the season, right? You know, this is the final home game. Do you think it gives more energy to the team, or is it bittersweet? What do you think?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think we're kind of in a unique situation right now where I think we have a little bit more to play for. Just knowing that, all right, hey, it is the rivalry game, and we have an opportunity if we have to have some stuff go our way, but I mean, the playoffs are still an option. If we end up winning 2 in a row and some certain things fall out, yeah, small chance, but it's still there. And our guys understand that that's something worth playing for. Also, having a winning record at home has not happened here for a while. I mean, playing good football, playing Weber, last home game, trying to get 3 in a row, trying to win 4 conference games for the first time in a long time. I mean, there's so many things to play for as we come down the stretch here. Our guys are excited about every one of them.
Talking about your units, you're aside from one guy. You know, let's talk about your O-line. They've stayed fairly healthy all season long. They rank top of the nation in multiple categories, or near the top of the nation, I should say, for accuracy. You know, do you attribute that to Hughes? Do you attribute that to the weight room? Is it a combination of everything?
It's everything. I think offensive line is an area where you're not going to go recruit a bunch of really good offensive linemen. And I know people are going to say, well, yeah, you can. Well, to me, when you go recruit offensive linemen, nobody walks down the hall and walks past a good offensive lineman, because there aren't a whole lot of offensive linemen who are really good that look like me, right? They're usually the big suckers, and they usually get picked over first. So you got to try, at our level, you're trying to find guys that were taller, leaner, overlooked, whether they're from really far away or really skinny guys, and you got to put weight on them. And so it starts with recruiting the right guys, and I think we have some really tough, good young men in that room. The strength and conditioning program and our nutrition program of helping those guys put on weight, and the way that we train them both to be stronger and more explosive, and we train tough so those guys can play tough. And then Coach Hughes is one of the best in the business. Keeping him last year was probably the biggest victory of the offseason. I think the world of him. He does a great job, not just schematically, but fundamentally and culturally. He does such a great job with those guys. And then collectively, between the backs and the quarterbacks and the staff, of playing your role and making sure we're, part of it is, hey, if you're running the right run schemes, the O-line is going to look better. And as that O-line has matured and our quarterbacks have matured and making sure we're getting into the right runs versus the right fronts, we're going to be more successful there. And our quarterbacks and running backs really owning their responsibility of pass protection from an assignment and a timing standpoint, making sure they can go out and execute. But the O-line, the young men in that room, they deserve the bulk of that praise because they're tough, they work their butts off, and they put us in this position. But it doesn't happen without a collective effort.
On the opposite side of the ball, the D-line also is ranked really high. In the Big Sky Conference, we're one of the best sacking teams in the conference with our linemen leading the way. What has Ricky done to that room, and how has it changed maybe in the last couple of years?
I really think some of it's the cultural piece. I mean, just seeing how those guys have been able to take Ricky's expertise, obviously his NFL background, and Ricky's a guy who served a mission, played locally, played in the NFL. He relates to our guys on a lot of different levels, and he's really immersed himself in there and brings a ton of energy and experience to that group. He's in it with the guys. They know they love him, but he's also holding them to a really high standard. And having Tipa Naliai, a legacy Bengal here, he's another guy with NFL experience who helps mentor them and brings a lot of energy. And there's nobody in our program who feels like they're getting better taken care of than our defensive linemen. And we try to do that with everybody, but if you go ask those D linemen how their lives have improved over the last year, from a resource standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, I mean, having 2 D-line coaches instead of 1 is a really big deal. Ricky leads the way with that. Tipa supports him. And then just good players. I think the leadership from guys like Colin Lewis Cam Willis. Colin Lewis and Cam Willis. I can say that 10 times fast. But both those guys are new guys who've done a really good job. They're older, they're more mature, and so even though they're new, they understand how to operate as a young man. And you've seen guys who've been here for a long time, like Maka has been here for a while, and he's playing by far his best football since he's been here these last 2 months. So, credit to the players, credit to the staff, and really appreciate all the work that they've done.
Okay, and then finally on my end, it's Olympic sports signing day today. Football signing day is right around the corner. We're about a month and a half out.
Yeah.
Just how are you feeling? I know we can't go into specifics on players themselves, but how are you feeling as a staff going?
Yeah, I say you feel weird just because we've been done for about 6 weeks as far as having all your committed spots full, but you also know that those things are going to change. So albeit, yes, signing day is coming up, our work isn't done, and you aren't sure what that work's going to be. Imagine you had a honey-do list at home, but you realize there was just a massive storm outside, and you're like, well, I don't know what I'm going to have to do. Like, I'm done now, but is the shed okay? Do I got to go, trim some bushes or pick up some trash? We'll see what happens. It's kind of wait and see. You're trying to do a good job mentoring the guys who are signed and button those things up, but we know it's going to change, and we know there's going to be change. So we got to be ready and to adjust as needed, but excited to kind of take the next step as we go here. But it's recruiting is something you always do, but your focus is still on the season and winning these football games, and we got to do both really well here over the next couple of weeks.
Perfect.
Talking about the recruiting and how it can change. Obviously, we know what you're talking about. It's the portal.
Yeah.
And that opening date is coming up. What kind of feeling, Cody, are you getting as far as how much impact the portal might have on how this team looks, say, come January, February, March?
It depends. Because the portal impact, whether we like it or not, it's, well, how much money can you invest in the players? That's what it is. It's not like are the guys happy here? Yeah, we have a lot of guys who are happy here, but if they're going to make $300,000 going to play somewhere else, they're going to leave, right? That's why a lot of guys, we lost 5 guys to Power 4 schools last year, and half of them are making 6 figures, and we can't, you can love Pocatello and people want to talk about loyalty, but Scott, I love you, but if the Utah Utes said, hey, Scott, we're going to quadruple, we're going to tenfold your salary, you'd be wearing red tonight. And I love you, Scott. I love you. I know you. I don't question your loyalty. But the reality is we start moving into the rev share era well, I don't know. It depends on, we're still trying to raise money, and if there's anybody out here who really loves Dason Brooks, well, write him a check. And I used to be able to get fired for saying that. Now we can't give them the check in this fiscal year. We'll give it to them next January once the new year kicks in. But I mean, if you love these guys and you like what you see, the reality is we got to pour resources into them. And do we love them? Yes. Do we have to recruit them? Absolutely. And we're working on trying to create really good opportunities for our guys. But you don't win football games without good players. Would we have been better if all those guys from last year stayed? Yeah, we would be. Would we be better in 26 if all the guys from this year stay? Absolutely. But whether we like it or don't like it, it's the reality of football now, Scott. And we got to do everything we can to try and figure out how we can convince these guys that this is a good opportunity. I think you've been able to look at a lot of FCS players, say particularly all those running backs that left the Big Sky and went to go play with Coach Eck. And none of those guys have gotten 30% of the stats that they got in the Big Sky. And it doesn't mean that they're bad players, but it means the grass isn't always greener elsewhere. And I think if you get the opportunity to have life-changing money, the kids need to go. I think if you're debating between, $20,000 and no money, well, I mean, college football is a unique experience, and everybody with a degree will make that when you're done anyways. And it might change the apartment you live in, but it's not going to change your life experience and what you take away from football. So we're actively working on that. We're having talks about it all the time. Like I said, it's crazy to think that now I have to do things that would have gotten any coach fired 5 years ago, and now you're going to get fired if you don't do them. You got to find ways to get resources for your guys and find ways to keep them there. And we will not be able to offer what other schools are going to offer from a tangible, like a money standpoint, unless somebody decides that they want to step up. But we're going to do better than we have in the past, and we'll try to continue doing better as much as we can going forward.